Hello there, you're now watching Dialog TVS, where we bring you meaningful conversations featuring thought leaders, industry experts, and prominent figures. Gain valuable insights into the policies shaping and impacting our world as we bring you conversation that truly matters. Now stay tuned as we explore these topics together, right here on Dialog TVS with me, Hadi.
And I'm Douglas Elliott. That's right, Hadi. At the core of effective governance is, of course, integrity. Integrity is a commitment to strong moral principles and honesty in both words as well as actions. Now, in the context of governance, integrity plays a pivotal role in building trust, ensuring accountability, and fostering a sense of public confidence in the government.
Now, indeed, a credible government operating with integrity tends to garner greater engagement and support from the people. And integrity in governance leads to effective and efficient service delivery as decisions prioritize the best interests of the public. Now, before we dive further into the discussion, joining us today is the General Manager of Sarawak Economic Development Corporation, SEDC, Datu Abdul Hadi bin Datu Abdul Kadir.
Hi, Andy. Hi, Douglas.
Thank you so much for agreeing to this interview.
It's my pleasure.
Right, Datu, before we start, I think maybe perhaps in your own words, what does it signify to embody integrity? And do you believe that this value has asserted its prominence in today's context?
Sure. Integrity is a big word. People can just simply say you have high integrity, you have low integrity, and things like that, right? But I think in the context of the Sarawak government, moving forward to the era where we are spearheading so many new things like the hydrogen initiative, the hydrogen economy, green economy, and all that, the people behind the execution of all these noble ideas will have to have a very high level of commitment, patience towards that idea, and of course, most of all, the level of integrity should be spot on. It cannot be anything less than 100%, right? Because the moment we are not sure of how to go about it in the best level, at the best level of integrity, and the question of trust, the question of the confidence among investors who are coming over, and the fact that investors and many government representatives from various countries have been visiting Sarawak, I think that is a good sign that integrity somewhat is working, is being recognized within the state government officials who are implementing this the vision of the government, especially the vision of our Premier. And of course, SEDC is definitely putting this as the foremost in our the agenda to make sure that everybody behind the execution of all those projects, all those ideas, those visions that we want to realize must have the highest level of integrity. That's where we are today.
All right, Datu, the state government has always believed in upholding integrity and sustaining good corporate governance practices in line with its vision to become the developed state by 2030. And history has shown that issues of integrity can destroy a society and led to the downfall of many governments throughout the history. So, our very own Premier, Dato' Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tunopeng once said, integrity is key to sustainable economic development.
Yep.
Now, in your own word, as a state government agency, how does SEDC define and promote a culture of integrity within the organization?
Yeah, we have been around for the last 52 years, and 2 years ago we had a big celebration, the celebration of 50th anniversary, golden anniversary. And having reached to that level of existence, the people behind SEDC, those who are probably still around over the last 30 years, or some even reaching almost 40 years, ever since the inception of SEDC, probably have seen the progress of the various leadership, embarking on this integrity journey, right? And I don't see anyone that has done so much with the level of emphasis on integrity other than our premier. And this is where I think our leaders within SEDC, our Tan Sri chairman, and the board members who are comprising members of the government as well, and some people from the private sector, and of course myself and my team, we have to have that immaculate record, a record that is not going to be, a question mark among the investors whom we are inviting to invest with SEDC to roll out some of these, many of the ideas that our government through our premier have brought about to be executed over the next 5 to 10 years. And this is where I think in SEDC, the culture of integrity is foremost in our agenda. Every time we meet our investors, we will tell them, this is where it starts, this is where it's going to end. Everything's on the table, We don't say anything other than that. And this is, as what the doctors mentioned earlier, it is not just be spoken, but it has to be acted on. Yeah. And this is where I think SEDC, will play that role in playing a government's executor of many visions or projects that are initiated by the government, and some, of course, are initiated by our team here in SEDC, need to be the champion of integrity. And I think so far, we're doing fine. Yeah, with all the, the achievements that we have attained so far, like, for instance, the ABMS and all those things that sort of is a proof that we are in this journey. We can't just say it out, but we're having no certificates, it's just like, if you are a graduate, I'm a graduate, where's your certificate, So we have to have that, and we have achieved that. And we're trying to roll that out to all the subsidiaries, the major subsidiaries, and slowly they are already adopting to this practice, and towards achieving this certification, like the ABMS, the anti-bribery management system, that most of these agencies in Malaysia are gearing towards achieving, in the shortest time possible. And we are among the first few, in Sarawak to have achieved that. Right. We achieved that last year. Right. Alhamdulillah.
Datu, perhaps your thoughts on this. Last year, Sarawak government just introduced the Otman Law, and I think this should be one of the most landmark bill in history, not only for Sarawak itself, but Malaysia as well, an exemplary leading by example. So what are your thoughts on this, and what are the measures perhaps in place for SEDC to maintain the highest standard of integrity?
Indeed. When our premier went as far as Norway, in the Scandinavian country that has that real high level of system that not only embrace integrity, but is, I would say, the example of integrity system that works. And I think by doing that and the creation of ombudsman as the ministry, as the agency that will promote integrity by making sure that all government agencies and its subsidiaries are practicing this. I think it's definitely the move that makes Sarawak shine among so many other state agencies in Malaysia. And I think, as I said, there's no other era that has really emphasized so much on integrity other than the era of our premier, who has not just, talk it or, talk. There are endless people who are talking about integrity, but at the end of the day, as what you mentioned earlier as well, the whole thing will collapse. I just mentioned to my staff in one session this morning, I said, no matter what you do, the moment integrity is being neglected, is being compromised, the whole thing will collapse. And it's true, people, you see what's going on around us in Malaysia and within the region as well, and in some parts of the world as well. So we don't want that to be happening in Sarawak, in Malaysia, and of course we try to have that immaculate record in SEDC as well. Yeah. So that's how much we really put SEDC in the highest platform of execution of integrity values within all our staff, and not only that, within the subsidiaries as well.
All right, thank you, Datu, for the wonderful insights. But before we continue, let's take a short break, and when we come back, we'll discuss more on SEDC's very own anti-corruption management system. Stay tuned. Hello there and welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Still with us is the General Manager of Sarawak Economic Development Corporation, SEDC, Datu Abdul Hadi bin Datu Abdul Kadir. So Datu, earlier you were talking about how integrity is important among employees in an organization. So can you share with us, how does SEDC handle conflict of interest among its employees and the leadership?
Right. The first thing that we do is everybody to sign some kind of perakuan, the letter of statutory declaration that the moment you are involved in some kind of decision making, whether you have any conflict of interest, you have to declare then. And of course, the good thing is that there are so many of our officers who are very, very focused on this, and sometimes, you might not realize that you have a conflict of interest, and somebody reminded you, you have a conflict of interest. Immediately, the reaction is positive. All right, I'm going to be involved, or you have to declare it. And this is where I think the level of awareness, I think, is already there, and we just have to follow through. And of course, there are a system of what we call audit, where our audit department, our integrity unit and all that, they are making sure that these are all in place and captured and recorded. We don't want one day somebody will just say, hey, how come this guy is involved in the decision making when he has a conflict of interest? That will go through, a nightmare, when everybody is being questioned and things like that. We're doing the right thing now. And obviously, we have measures such as the sumpah, where we do the taking of oath of being loyal, being of high integrity and all that on every function. But during the specific meetings, we always have this declaration of no conflict of interest. If any, then somebody will be doing that, and somebody will just remind each other about that. And it's something that's already a culture within SEDC. And hopefully that's done in all agencies as well. I mean, there's no two way about this, right? We have to uphold this, and we have to be seen to be, acting as such. And I think that's the right thing to do, right? So there's no question about or rather having somebody who just be involved and suddenly later on found out to be having a conflict of interest. Even our council chairman, for instance, if there's any conflict of interest, he will have to declare himself during a meeting, and somebody else will take over the chairmanship. And same with me, and same with my other officers as well. All right, so it's no question.
Right, Hadi, I'm made aware that SEDC has its own anti-corruption management system. Maybe perhaps Datu could explain a bit more. How do you guys put it into practice?
Right, we got this last year, and it wasn't very long after we started this journey, starting with all the preliminaries, and finally when we got the ABMS, that to us was, I would say, the highest certification that you would want to achieve, right? Now, I always am trying to make sure that all these certificates are not going to be on the wall, are not going to be somewhere kept safe, and that's it, and making it known from here and there that we have this ABMS. Most importantly is to internalize it, and this is what we are putting injecting all this so-called culture of action rather than culture of just mere lip service. So, for instance, all the other certificates that we have achieved, the ISOs and all that, is of no good if what is being practiced doesn't reflect the true level of that certification that one has achieved. So IBMS indeed is the one that it will be visible to the public at large and to specific agencies like the Integrity Agency, the IIM, the Institute Integrity Malaysia, and all the other agencies, Ombudsman and all that. I mean, the moment they are, I'm sure we cannot be 100% perfect. You know, human beings are, I would say, they're bound to have some people who are not 100% complying with rules and regulations, right? But then again, it's the way we manage it. Are we going to be just sweeping it under the carpet, or are we going to be addressing it then? And our integrity officer, whom we have actually chosen from the lot, is a person who has been involved in spearheading these talks and training of officers, you know, throughout Sarawak as well as in Malaysia. On several occasions, she's been invited over for figuring this talk, and she is, I must say, one who has shined among the officers within the CIOs, the chief, you know, integrity officer of the state in Malaysia. And I think having that kind of person in my organization is actually a blessing, because she set a very high example, and she is able to weave through, you know, the system in the manner that's actually permitted. And I've made it a point that in all important meetings, the integrity members, the unit members of the integrity unit called IRMU, will be sitting as observers or as an observer in any meeting that is being held within SEDC, and in some instances even at the subsidiary level. So this is where I think the transparency level would be enhanced, and hopefully that will be translated into the safe execution of whatever that we need to execute in a very, very sound and spotless manner. You know very well, if let's say integrity is being compromised, it will let down so many stakeholders, right? The people at large, the government, the other agencies who have that, the investors, for instance. But having high level of integrity, high level of good governance, high level of what they call that, monitoring, I think the system will be very efficient. You will have a very super quick delivery without having to backtrack and things like that, you know, because the moment you do it right from the beginning and follow through it without taking a chance in anything, you know, because again, as I said, we have to monitor this. We have to make sure that everything is in place, and that's why MBMS is very important, right? MBMS is a system that you have to follow through. You know, there is always areas that you have to check, to monitor, to report, and things like that. So, you know, sometimes audit does its job as well. Audit will probably indicate some red flags somewhere, you know, something is not right, that we need to zero in immediately. Yeah. And this is where I think what we have achieved is something that has brought about, well, we are the top 5, you know, in the country for this year, and the award will be coming soon. Top 5 getting the gold award for under the AIGA, the Anugerah Integrity Governance, yeah, which is held every year. And this is actually a better result than the previous year, when because we haven't achieved the ABMS, we were only getting silver. But this year, we're top 5 in the country. And with a little bit of luck, hopefully we'll be chosen to be the number 1. We don't know. But whatever it is, we have achieved that level, right? And to maintain that is where, you know, the struggle begins, right? Because the struggle begins when you have achieved that level, to maintain it, to make it move a step higher to a higher level. That is where everybody has to be passionate about it, has to be committed about it, and has to be already, you know, having that culture of being transparent, being open, being a person of the highest integrity, right?
Datu, on that, on the Anugerah, the top 5 agencies for prestigious Anugerah integrity. So what does this recognition means for SEDC as a whole and in general as well?
Obviously, everybody is actually proud of it. Everybody is motivated even more. But it doesn't mean that we're going to get it every year, right? But as I said, having achieved that, we then have to follow through with events, with activities that will support whatever that we have achieved earlier. And again, as I say, if we achieve that year in, year out, that is a good indication that we are on the right track. We are still, basically, what do you call it, really rolling it out at the highest level. But you can be rest assured that in SEDC, we will have to maintain our level at the highest level all the time without fail, right? And hopefully that will be followed through for generations to come. So again, we give awards to people who have high level of integrity during our annual dinner and things like that. So that again will motivate our staff, to achieve. And we have very beautiful examples of people who have found a wallet at the hotel site and giving back to to the owner and all that. And these are things that we must really push to. We must highlight to the other members who will then be motivated, who will then be they know that whatever that they do is not even if they, I don't think they expected this when they did all those things, but recognizing that is a big thing, what they call honor to the staff concerned, and we hope that will go from the lowest level to the highest level. Right? I mean, the people like us, we are supposed to set the example for the rest to follow. But if we are not setting the right example, I think that's where the whole thing starts to crumble, right? Yeah.
All right, Datu, I'm going to divert your attention to another direction. It's the clean renewable energy sector. So SEDC is actively engaged in the clean renewable energy sector, dedicated to promoting sustainable energy solutions, reducing environmental impact through innovative technologies and eco-friendly practices. Now, how does SEDC ensure transparency not only to stakeholders and investors, but also to the people of Sarawak?
Well, we have committees who are actually being set to ensure that we have a level of integrity that's second to none, right? For instance, if there's any tender going on, we'll have the tender evaluation committee, and all the things that is set for us to follow will be followed through. And we have various levels, and we have even the project, the tender finance and investment committee, chaired by notable figure in the state government, to spearhead that screening process, because we do due diligence, we do whatever that's needed to ensure that those stakeholders who are with us are people of the highest level of knowledge, highest level of capacity to finance self and to bring in the right thing towards this initiative. And I think all these are being done. So there's no question about whether we are wrongly going into this field or not. Well, it may be an idea that it springs out of our leaders, But then, to act upon it, the system will take care of itself, and we must uphold this system. Nobody should be, above the system, right? So that's why I think, as I said earlier, there are many investors knocking at our doors, and we welcome them, but on the condition they are committed to this level of integrity. There's no something that is done behind the door or things like that. So we always put that right up front to them. We don't want a middleman who is lobbying for it. We want to see the essence of the proposal. We want to see whether the proposal is good enough for the state, first of all, right? Of course, subsequently for the nation, right? And by doing that, we are addressing all possibilities, but at the same time, making sure that the right thing will fall through. Yes, once in a while you have some bad projects, that perhaps due to situations, due to certain things that perhaps was unforeseen, it might have to be taken off, right? But hopefully, in most instances, we will see the project through. It might take a little bit longer than expected, but at least it's on the right track, at least it's done properly, at least done with the highest level of governance, and that will ensure Sarawak will be there in the roadmap to achieve all the things that the leadership has set to achieve, like the post-COVID development strategy, PCDS 2030. That is part of our benchmark. We will use that as a point of reference, like for instance, sustainability, like for instance, social inclusivity, for instance, usage of technology, value creation and all that. Right? So we want to be able to contribute towards that developed nation status, right, in the year 2030. And we ourselves, within our group, we're setting our own target to achieve some form of independence when it comes to finance our projects and all that. And we are somewhere there, but there's a lot more to be achieved or to be worked through. And I believe, I'm confident, the system is in place, and the people are. Everybody is very, very much into coming on the same page with the top management and the board and the premier, and that's where you see things happening already.
Right, certainly. Right, it's interesting discussion so far, Datu. Right, but before that, we'll be taking a short break once again. We will be back after this commercial break. Welcome back. Joining us for this episode is the General Manager of Sarawak Economic Development Corporation, SEDC, Datu Abdul Hadi bin Datu Abdul Kadir. Now, Datu, just now earlier you touched upon Sarawak's post-COVID-19 development strategy and also SEDC's initiative that aligns with it. Now, as we know, Sarawak, there's a range of initiatives are currently being implemented to encourage and support the growth of sustainable green industries, such as we know hydrogen, hydropower, solar, biomass, and thus reducing reliance on fossil fuels and minimizing the environmental impact. Now, these efforts are aimed to transform Sarawak into a hub for green industry, contributing to economic growth while ensuring environmental preservation as well as sustainability. Now, Dato, perhaps you can share with us what are SEDC's initiatives to encourage as well as support sustainable green industry growth here in Sarawak.
Well, we obviously are into this initiative because the chairman, our Tansi chairman, is also a person with that same vision. Mm-hmm. And we have actually captured that as our SEDC vision as well. Our vision is firstly to be the preferred organization to obviously to execute government's ideas and vision and all that. So we are mirroring our activities to that of PCDS 2030, as well as the action plans that fall through from that system, right? And I think the fact that the world is already embracing this wholesome, there's no exception. There's no country in the world who has said, hold on, I'm not going into this, right? Everybody, one way or another, they are into this agenda, the agenda of contributing something towards the good of the earth, right? Something to make good the earth from what it has sort of become due to the forest degradation, due to the degradation of the seawater and the environment at large. This is where I think, through the leadership of our Premier, we also embrace the same thing. We start doing campaigns with regard to the green agenda, doing going green. In fact, as this SEC logo itself, if you know the new logo, is green in color. That denotes our journey towards the green agenda. And of course, it happens to be emerald green. Hopefully, that's what that green means in another dimension. But the fact that that green is a telling point for us to say that SEDC is embracing green initiative and green agenda. And this is where, of course, we cannot change everything into green initiative or green activity overnight, but we have started the ball rolling. We brought in on behalf of the state government, on behalf of the Sarawak government, the green bus in the form of the hydrogen bus, 3 hydrogen buses, and it happened to be the first hydrogen buses that are running around in any city and in this region. That's one. And then we started with this the hydrogen initiative, linking ourselves with the world players like the Japanese giant Sumitomo and Ineos, together with the Korean giants like Samsung Engineering, Lotte Chemical, and POSCO. These are people who themselves have their own plan to be a contributor towards the environment, to save the world from the depleting ozone, what do you call it, consequences and all that. And I think by us putting ourselves in that, under that radar, meaning we definitely in this sector, in this mode of being the implementer, not just talk. I mean, we were at the national level, presenting this to the Mosti at one point, and our Tan Sri again, because of his very, very committed, move towards this agenda. He knows every detail about this, the hydrogen initiative, and anything that's associated to that, as well as the algae, the production of this sustainable aviation fuel called SAF from algae production and all that. And all these are presented to the ministry at the national level. And the fact is that we are the first state, at least in Malaysia, to have actually embarked on this journey. And it's not just on paper, we're rolling it out. And to have the rakyat to embrace this hydrogen thing, it's not easy. Yeah. And that's why we bring in the buses, and to make the buses within reach by the community at large, giving a free service throughout Kuching, certain routes in Kuching, and also all the way to Damai. Mm-hmm. So by them riding on these hydrogen buses, it will sort of got rid of this notion that hydrogen is something volatile, something not to be near to, and things like that. So now I think you can ask people around in Kuching, what's hydrogen? Oh, they have hydrogen buses. So they're no longer looking at hydrogen in a negative manner. You know what I mean? They're looking at the negative as a friendly thing, a friendly energy. And that's the first move. And that's the reason why the government, through us, are giving this free service to the people to make sure that they really are on board this journey of green initiative. So, of course, within the SECC community itself, the staff within SECC, within the subsidiaries, they're all into this, because every one of them must know this hydrogen is something that will remain with us, will be the starting of our the green initiative, in a way to contribute towards the world safety, right? The world is already, we see happenings in the world that are not what we used to experience. You are young, but I'm already at the age where I can remember those days where the world is very, very peaceful. There's no big floods and no, apart from the past, of course, but now floods are virtually rampant in every country, and that is a telltale sign of the world is no longer what it used to be. But if we don't do anything, and the Premier keeps saying that, we are a small country, we're small, not a state within a country. And even Malaysia as a whole is one of the smallest countries in the world. And yet, Sarawak, on behalf of Malaysia, is already into this journey and contributing whatever percentage of what I call that sustainability, environmental friendly activities that at least will tell the world that, look, if we can do it, why can't you? You know, of course there are many good things that the other big nations have already started. They're creating the incentive for the hydrogen initiative within their own companies, and that's where they are riding on us now, because they see Sarawak government being a stable government, being a very committed government with a vision very clear, and they're coming in to invest together with us.
Hadi, perhaps you remember, I think Sarawak's Green Energy Initiative has attracted the attention, I think not only the world over, but in fact here in Malaysia, attracted the attention of a royal. If you remember the royal Pahang region, Tengku Hassanah visit to Sarawak, not only visit to learn more about Sarawak's Green Initiative. Maybe perhaps you can share what are they studying, what are they learning, maybe they're trying to implement the same initiative that we have here in Sarawak back in Pahang. So perhaps you can share a bit with us about the visit.
Indeed, Douglas. I was privileged to be able to brief Tengku Hassanah, you know, the region of Pahang, recently on his most recent visit, and that is at the highest level of visit, especially dedicated to see what Sarawak has done, you know, with regard to the Green Initiative. And of course, coming to SEDC, it was an honor for me to be standing there in front of him and to be beside him in the bus, the hydrogen bus that I talk about. He was there and he was talking to our ministers who were accompanying him, you know, Dr. Abdul Rahman, Dr. Hazlan. Say, hey, Pahang and Sarawak, we work together towards this, you know, and he's talking about us, you know, putting this thing into Pahang as well. So I think our, you know, the people in the other states, especially Pahang now, are showing that they are prepared to learn from Sarawak. But of course we can learn from them as well. They're always, you know, two-way learning process, isn't it? But the fact that he came back after a recent visit by, you know, the king himself together, he was there in that visit, and coming back just to learn about our green initiative, that in itself is actually what we call testament of his commitment towards green as well at his level. And we'd be happy if we can actually share anything, you know, to his government or himself or the Agong himself. Well, there's a lot that we can do. And as you said, Douglas, there are other governments who are here, you know, representing the ambassadors, the high commissioners, who are indeed very impressed. Yes. We have one of the first multi-fuel refueling station in the world. It's a real, you know, full-fledged petrol station, Petros, which is actually into this multi-fuel refueling station, both conventional oil, the electric charging point, and as well as the hydrogen fuel itself, which actually is just being delivered by our partner Petronas, and this will be rolled out throughout Sarawak. Yeah, and in other words, the government is really committed to this, and there's no stopping it. The other states, even Sabah, is actually looking to the extension of this multi-fuel refueling station into Sabah, and of course they want to see our input to this as well. And if every nation and every state within Malaysia are committed to do the same thing, I think it will go a long way, you know, for us to achieve something in our small but meaningful contribution towards a sustainable economy, sustainable environment, and all that.
Yes, most definitely. But before we go to the next question, we'd like to take a short break, and when we're back, we would like to hear about SEDC's aspiration for 2024. Yep. Stay tuned. Hello there, and thank you for staying with us on Dialog TVS. Still with us is Datu Abdul Hadi bin Datu Abdul Kadir, the SEDC's General Manager. So earlier you were talking about the goals of SEDC. Can you share with us the transformation goal for SEDC?
Yeah, to be, you know, it just happens that we have managed to roll out our transformation journey, right? We started many years throughout Malaysia, the SEDC throughout Malaysia, Jacob, PKNS, Perak, SEDC, and everybody under the MOF, they were going through that process of transformation. And a consultant was there to make the study on that. But we, over the last year or so, we managed to roll it out, having a consultant to guide us to go through that transformation. Now, why transform when you're already doing okay? Well, there are two things here. It's always good to see something from a different angle. Being a government agency, the constraint on SEDC is where we are tied down to Jabatan Perkhidmatan Awam. The number of positions, the salary that we can afford to give are confined to that. And with the transformation journey, we hope we're going to be under a holding company. That's our vision, right? Under a holding company, that the holding company will be like a private sector in its execution of the various objectives, various projects and the ideas or the visions of the government that we need to execute. An example of that can be seen in Jacob, for instance. Jacob is actually SEDC Johor, and it's called Johor Corporation, Jacob. And they have set a very good success story, or rather something that I think other SEDCs are trying to emulate. And of course, it's not just Jacob, but we are emulating the others who have already rolled out their transformation plan, becoming more agile, more efficient in implementing government initiatives. And if we are to be confined to that, we can't get the best brain in to hate companies, to hate some departments and all that. So by having detached from the JPA, we call it, then we are free to bring in the best talent and to be able to retain them. I mean, getting them in is easy, but to retain them is very difficult. And through this transformation process, in fact, this year onwards is the execution phase of our transformation plan. And this is where we start to execute the companies that are supposed to be the holding company, its staffing and various other divisions or units that may become companies, because we are talking about shared services. Meaning to say, we look at our group as a big entity that warrants centralization of procurement process and things to make it more efficient. I would say more competitive, because the moment you have big things that we can do under one company, then it will bring about competitiveness in. We have a bigger purchasing power, and it's not easy to get people on this journey, because everybody has that question mark in their mind. Am I going to situation where I can be sacked at any time in the process, or am I getting anything extra benefits from what I am getting now? But the government officers might feel that I'm very secure. Nobody can just throw me out. But in a company-like environment, one can, you get well paid. Of course, you have to be very, very competitive. But if you don't perform, you don't get either bonuses, you might not stay that long. Those are the worries, among our staff who are embarking into this transformation process. They may eventually be offered to take up their new role as in a private entity. Well, of course, we will have to screen them. We have to do the profiling of these people to see that they are good enough to be in that company, vice versa. And by doing that, SDC will be more agile, more efficient in executing government's plan and initiatives. And I think from there on, SDC will be more at par with organizations such as JCOP and other agencies out there who are very corporate-like. They, in other words, of course, Petronas is the ultimate example of when you pay somebody good, the good ones will come. The salary-wise, people will be attracted to it. But also the environment. We have to create an environment of them being nurtured, them being appreciated, them being given that ability to execute their ideas. Of course, it must be under the vision of the company, of course. And I think the Premier has advised us that you can't work like a government. It's not that the government is not good. Government needs to be there. But to execute things, you need to come out of that. And of course there'll be a governance still, but the governance will be at a different level. It'll be less perhaps processes, fewer processes, but at the same time, there'll be a lot more of what do you call that, screening to get to the right project, going into screening in the sense that be faster screening process and things like that, right? And of course, there'll be being agile, meaning to say that we can go into it, but we can also exit it faster. So that's where I think we should be on the right track, or on a very strategic platform once we are in that kind of environment, a more corporate-like and more looking into how we can actually bring in revenues and to make sure that we are on track to achieve our target all the time, and without giving too many excuses. Sometimes we give excuses, this and that. So once we are financially independent, then what we do would be using our own fund, and of course being looked up by some banks. For instance, the banks would be there rolling out their financing to us, offering the financing to us. And of course it must be good projects, and nowadays green projects are something that the banks are looking at, looking for to finance, and it must be proper governance in executing all this. That's what we've been talking all throughout this session. I'm sure by having achieved that transform state, SECC will go a long way.
Right, that perhaps is the long-term goal, medium to the long terms. But what about short terms? So it is still the new year, Chinese New Year is coming up. So what are SEDC's aspirations for the year of 2024?
Fortunately, we have this wonderful culture of having the presidential address by none other than our chairman himself. The chairman, throughout the 50 years of existence of SEDC, has been doing that every year. And this PA, we call it presidential address, this PA will be charting the journey for that particular year and beyond, of course. But every year we're going to do that. We're going to review what we had achieved previous year and set a new strategy, a new KPIs and all that to be achieved in this year. So in fact, our PA will be happening very soon. And this is where everybody would be there. Every member of our SEC group, obviously the CEOs of the companies will be there. And to set the chairman will set the pace, will set the tone, will set the target for all of us to achieve for that year. We call it the low-hanging fruits. Obviously, there are some projects that needs years to implement, because it'll be subject to studies, subject to screening, subject to front-end engineering, design, etc., etc. So, as in the case of hydrogen production, it takes another few years before it can take off. But it's something that once is there, and SEC will be assured of a very, very handsome revenue. And not only that, we are in that, green agenda. And in fact, we were together with the minister today, talking about our most recent project, still being undertaken, being planned or being executed at a certain level. The production of our they call it the hydrogen project in Rembus here in near Samarahan, where it's meant to feed hydrogen for our ART, the autonomous rapid transit. Our hydrogen buses used to become the feeder buses, the first mile and last mile for the hydrogen, the IART project throughout Kuching, right? And this Rembus project, hydrogen production project in Rembus, is going to be the biggest in the region so far. Will be 5 tons per day production, and of course the bigger ones that will be coming with the Japanese partner, with the Korean partner later on. But meaning to say, we are already progressing from small production of hydrogen, another production of hydrogen at Daruhana petrol station, and now the next one, the big one, in Rembus, obviously is for the ART that we're going to roll out, and the hydrogen buses, there'll be 55 in numbers to fit the hydrogen, the ART line, yeah, and you know, you guys are still young, and for the next few years, you'll be seeing things happening around you, you know, with regard to this hydrogen initiative that the government has actually put to SEDC as the implementer. And we are very, very honored, and we feel very, very proud of it. But of course, foremost, integrity, foremost, professionalism, foremost, high level of what we call it, knowledge, and of course, teamwork. Without teamwork, things will fall apart, right? And that's, of course, those are values within SEC that we always put across to our team. Yeah.
Right. Datu, maybe perhaps, I know that we're short on time, but maybe perhaps one last question from me. I know this, I was on social media recently, and I think some netizens, they were saying that, or perhaps maybe Petros should establish a few stations like along the Pan Borneo Highway. So is there a possibility for the people, for the rakyat of Sarawak coming soon? You know, the newly brought in Toyota Mirai, the second generation Toyota Mirai, which is of course a full hydrogen car, right? And it's used by our premier, used by our deputy premiers, and of course used by our Tan Sri Chairman. There are 5 in numbers at the moment. And one tank of 6 kilograms of hydrogen into that car, in theory, can go all the way to 1,000 kilometers. Can you imagine with 6 kilograms of hydrogen in that car, full tank, will bring the car through 1,000 kilometers. And of course, that's an ideal journey, a straight, without stopping journey, 1,000 kilometers. So how far is it from here to Miri? Right, but even then, we still need to build stations throughout Sarawak. That networking is already in the pipeline, right? We do one in Kuching. There'll be 2. The next one under construction will be in Batukawa. After that, it will be in Sri Aman, in Bintulu, Cebu, Bintulu, and Miri. So we have connectivity. We have the infrastructure to facilitate for the usage of this hydrogen vehicle. And very soon, you know, China are already making it almost accessible to ordinary people, you know, these hydrogen cars. So very soon, I think people like you, you will be driving the hydrogen cars. You know why? Because hydrogen cars is most efficient, and you're contributing towards a green world, right? So, and on top of that, technology will bring about the affordability of this vehicle.
Yes, hopefully one day, huh?
Definitely good news, right? There you have it, right?
Well, it looks like the time is up.
Yeah.
So thanks once again for your expertise, and it is always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much once again, Datu.
Thank you very much, Hadi and Douglas.
Right. Until the next episode of Dialog TVS, we'll see you soon.